Welcome back, kids. We are here again for another episode of Sit Crooked, Talk Straight. I am Katie Myers.
And I'm Leanne Jameson.
And we have a big announcement. We just spoke last week about the gestational period of our baby that has been birthed. Right, we've been birthing it. Like it's been, man, could you imagine being in labor for 2.5 years?
Oh gosh, that is.
No one would ever have babies. Our baby, it's a girl.
Yay! Do you know, okay, so side note, so before we even reveal anything, I remember getting these, they were hand towels, and it was like, everybody pull up your pants. It's not that kind of gender reveal.
Oh my gosh, that's hilarious.
I'm like, okay, so anyway, sorry, that was my off-the-cuff comment.
That's a good joke.
My memory that pops up, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a bad joke, but I thought it was hilarious. It's so bad. It's so bad.
So bad. So bad. That's a bad dad joke.
It's a bad...
We are continuing to birth this baby, and so I know we kind of had a little bit of a cliffhanger last week, but the months, I think, and I'll just kind of share a little bit about kind of what my internal experience was, and then you can share yours, and it'll all start to make sense. But I think,
well, and if you haven't listened to it yet, what we were trying to decide, right? If you haven't listened to last week's episode, we are trying to decide whether or not to keep on moving forward with this podcast, with Sit Crooked Talk Straight. And it was brought on by me. It was brought on by me sort of just in this reflective state and being really vulnerable with Katie. That was for as loud and out there as I am, as we are, I still can get scared to be vulnerable of listen, this is where I'm at and I'm not sure what this means. And I don't know. I just know this is what I'm feeling and this is what I'm thinking. And as a recovering people pleaser, continuing to try to recover, that was a big, vulnerable and scary step for me. So luckily I have a partner that is absolutely amazing and can hold space, for all of the shifts and thoughts and emotions that I have. So thank you. Thank you.
Of course, I think thank you for saying that. I strive to be that kind of safe space, while honoring my authentic feelings and reactions to things. And so as we're kind of talking through this and we will elaborate obviously on what we're doing, but I think we talked about last time the honesty and vulnerability to check in on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And whether that's checking in internally with yourself, if that's checking in with a partner, whether that's a business partner or a romantic partner or a friendship partner or whatever, or as work situation, right? Just continuously checking in, that is such an important piece of, I think, our journey being fruitful. And so, because I think I mentioned in last episode, I am one that will turn contentment into complacency without even knowing it. And it will, sometimes it happens overnight, it happens quickly. Other times it happens over a long period of time where it's yeah, I'm content. 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 Just cross the line over into complacency. And so if I'm not checking in, and so that's why I was so grateful for you and your honesty around it and being so vulnerable with me. And we have that relationship, thank God, that we can have those hard conversations. And it wasn't even a hard conversation, but it could have been. Right? It could have been. And so I guess I'm just wanting to comment on, I'm so grateful for you and I having that relationship to be able to hold space for one another. And not everybody has that. And I want to encourage you to still have these honest, vulnerable conversations with yourself or with others, even if you're not sure of what's going to come back to you on the other end, because that's really, it's none of your business what's going to come back to you as far as like people's opinions of you. and you can't control it anyway. It's not your job
Right.
to to manipulate or to manage those things.
Right. But holding on to, I'm glad that you said this, because holding on to like your truth, holding on to my truth is trying to control the situation, right? Like not being authentic, not showing up, and yeah, not showing up vulnerably and authentically is me trying to like control other people's emotions or the way they perceive me and stuff like that. So,
Oh my gosh, all day long, I will attempt to manipulate your perception of me to the point where I will sometimes do like, I will turn myself into a pretzel and do like ninja acrobats to like be what you want me to be, what I think you want me to be, which is what's funny. Because I mean, I think myself a smart person, but I'm not a mind reader, and and what wasted energy. So anyway,
right.
I
Right.
digress. So my process when Leanne brought to me, okay, let's have this conversation, and I was like, oh, like, all right, like not like a huge reaction, but just kind of like, yeah, like let's talk about it. We stopped recording for, was it like 2 months?
I think so.
I
Yeah.
mean, it was so 2 months we took a hiatus, and it was welcome for me, and that not that there's any like, it was just, there's a lot on all of our plates. Anytime I can take something off the plate, things feel a little bit more manageable.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't anything specific about sit crooked, talk straight. It was more just one less thing on my calendar.
Yeah.
I had actually, and I don't think I shared this with you, but I had actually gotten to the place where I was almost the opposite of what you just described, of like trying to like manage the outcome. I was more of like, I'm just going to go with whatever she says. So here was my internal process, was like, I went through my like emotions. I probably spent like a week on each. My emotions on, if you came back and you were like, all right, it's time to put this baby to bed. Like we've done it. It was awesome. What a good run. Let's put her to bed and move forward in a different direction. And like I sat with that for like a week, and it was like, all right, like there's some sadness. All right, like there's some, right, like there. And I went through all the different emotions, and then I did the opposite the next week, where I was like, okay, I envisioned us having the conversation and you being like, game on, sister. Like the love child lives on. Like let's continue this project. And I sat with that, and I sat with like, okay, I wasn't like, I wasn't like, oh damn, here we go. Like we gotta, I wasn't anything. And so that's where, because I'm a generator, and we talked very briefly about this last time. I'm a generator. I'm supposed to wait for the emotional tell. I'm supposed to wait for my gut reaction to tell me like yes or no.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't getting a yes or a no. I wasn't in, so, but this is when it was real life, when we connected and you were like, I say we keep doing this. I felt in my gut this like leap of like, yes.
Aw.
It was fascinating, because I don't get a lot of those. I wish I had that more. I wish I had that like on the daily. I don't get it that frequently, honestly. I think part of it is because I'm not as in tune with my internal process as I could be. And I'm continuing to grow and learn and foster that awareness. So just being aware of it in that moment was kind of like, all right, this feels like, I felt peace. I felt excited. I had missed, I mean, you and I say connected, but we were not as connected during that time as we are when we are recording. And so
Right.
like that reconnection felt, so anyway, that was my like internal gut check of, I think I would have found peace no matter what the direction was.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that we're going to continue this, and we're making tweaks. So, right, like
Right.
shorter episodes, not recording as much, keeping, because I mean, we had like 3 or 4 months worth of content. That's how we could take a break for
I
2 months, was
know.
we had content built up.
We set ourselves up for success for this. Who knew? The universe did.
Divine timing, divine orchestration all the way around. And and what I learned is having us shift from doing 2 hours every week to like, let's cut it back a little bit to whether it's an hour every other week or every other week too, or whatever we land on, because I can't remember what we landed on. But
Every other week.
every other week. That's right. Shorter episodes every other week. But that again frees up space. And I think that's just like the takeaway that I'm walking away with this from is like, nothing has to be like do or die. There can be like all different shades of gray.
Yes.
And colors woven into the tapestry. And if something's not working for you, that doesn't mean, and I even said this to a client yesterday, he was very rigid. And I was like, let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. And he was like, oh, I don't know how to do that. And then even as I'm sitting here right now, like when I was in the framework of we're either going to do it or we're not going to do it, it was all or nothing.
Yeah.
And I didn't have to do that. And the universe puts people in my life to kind of remind me and to pull me back from the edge of like throwing everything out. When it's like, no, like we can still do this and like tweak it so that it doesn't feel, I don't know what the word is, so that it does feel peaceful and aligned.
More aligned. Yeah.
What was your process like? What roller coaster ride were you on during that time? Were you just like, thank God, like we're not doing this for a minute. I need a break. Like,
no, actually it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was because with my feeling, it was interesting because it felt like I was looking at our schedule and like our meetings and stuff. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to talk about. Like, I don't like, it was that kind of feeling of like a little bit more heaviness. And that's when I always know to check in. It's like, if it's feeling too difficult, and I know not all the time, everything, especially in entrepreneurship, right? It's not all going to be fucking easy. It's just not. So, but it doesn't always have to be hard. So when things are getting too difficult or I get too frustrated or I get like, ugh, even when I know I love seeing you and I love connecting with you. And that was my favorite part, right? Like was like us just chit chatting in the beginning, catching up with each other, stuff like that. But when that becomes the only thing that I'm looking forward to and not the other, that's not in alignment for me.
For sure.
So it was, first of all, the fear of talking about it and just addressing it for me. And then like celebrating that, like we have this relationship. Also just taking off of just, you know, how am I going to be intentional with this time, which is really funny because oftentimes, and this can be a bit conditioned, but it's also a part of me that I love, of like this, like filling my life with fulfillment, you know, like different things that fulfill me. And it wasn't what it used to be where it was like, oh, I can fit an extra like exercise, or I could do this, or I could do that, or I could do this. I literally like took mornings that were just easy. And like my whole routine shifted. It's shifting again, or I'm getting into this position of just like, what do I now want it to be? So it was like the podcast, it was my business, it was like this whole transition. And it's so funny because when I think about summer, and a lot of people think about summer and just the seasons too, summer is like very fiery and like go and like joyous and da 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 da. And for me, it was a time to step back, and it was a time of reflection. And yeah, just so much happened. So your process was like, and it's so funny because as a projector, well, I want to say like I have open systems all over me. So I take in other people's emotions, I take in their excitement, I take in their fears, I take all of it. So it's sometimes hard for me to decipher, right? And with me, it's more about waiting for the invitation. That's everything that I'm supposed to do, is wait for the invitation. Well, what fucking invitation? I'm the one making the decision. I'm like, what's the invitation? I don't understand. I don't know what's going on.
This does not compute. This does not fit into the box the way I need it to.
It was like short wiring. Shorting out, like,
Short circuit. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So it was a lot of just like reflection for me and slowing down for me. And it's so funny that you look for like does it excite me? Does it, cause I think about what I did was like, I thought about continuing on and well, first, actually, let me explain. The first thing I did was think about no longer continuing. And there was a sadness there that was beyond just like regular grief. So I knew that like that wasn't the answer, right? Because I mean, like I'm like, okay, even though I know, like logically, right? Logically, I'm like, I know that like we'll be fine. I know that everything will be like whatever.
Right.
If we end, like it'll be what it'll be. And I wasn't scared of that. So there wasn't a fear associated with it. It was just like this deep sadness and longing, which gave me the indicator of like, I don't want this to end yet.
It's not time.
Yeah, it's not time. And when I thought about moving forward in the way that we were, that wasn't fitting either. Right. So being able to come back and say, let's continue and let's do something different, right? Yeah. Let's see what we want to shift, where we want to shift, how we want to focus, what we really want to, like, what is our mission with this? Again, coming back to our mission, why did we start this? Why do we want to continue? And how do we want to continue? That feels really aligned for both of us, and because I was always the one with like I felt this anyways. It's like, I was like gas on the pedal. We don't listen to, like, we're just going to stay in this cadence. We're going to get like ahead of the game. And it was very like structured that way. And that it's so funny when you talk about like the all or nothing, because I am very much like that. When I get into a routine and a pattern, like I'll go. And then without even recognizing it, I'm burning out. Or maybe I'm recognizing it, but I ignore it because I'm like, no, this has been working. Like I don't want to, it's the fear of releasing the structure because I can go all or nothing. So it's like, well, if I'm here, I'm over here. And I mean, that's just, again, that's recognizing my pattern too. And like trying to, at 45, I thought I was 46, in the other like episode that we were talking, I was like, yeah, I'm 46. I asked my husband, I'm like, am I 46? He's like, no, you're 45. I said,
That's
okay.
hysterical. So if anybody needs a clue into taking some time where you just like dial it back, it's when you forget how old you are and you just need to like bring it back. And what I'm so proud of you, and I don't mean to interrupt, like, I hope I don't interrupt your train of thought.
No, go.
Like, I'm so proud of you because the all or nothing in some regards is so valuable. There is like a work ethic and a commitment and a dedication and like there's like a reliability that comes with that. And that's so awesome. And with anything, the other side, the other end of the spectrum at the extreme is rigidity and burnout and overwhelm and frustration because you don't realize that you're not in alignment because you're more committed to the routine or you're more committed to the process than you are to the idea, what am I trying to say? It's like you're more committed to the routine or the structure than you are to
yourself.
To yourself.
Like to yourself.
No, that's perfect. That's
perfect. How I feel. It's just like, don't listen. You can't trust yourself because, and I hear it over and over and over with all these like really successful businesswomen or just like this. It's like, no, the dedication, which I totally get. I do believe in the commitment and the dedication. And there has to be space for me to listen to my fucking self and like to follow that and to trust myself,
Right. When you made your shift, gosh, it's been probably like maybe 6 months now that you made like maybe not that long, but your shift where you were like, I'm gonna not solely be in this masculine energy of like you really started to embrace
Yes.
your feminine energy, and you were like,
I think it was
I'm
like
not
3 months ago, somewhere around there.
okay. So, but you made the decision. You were like, I'm not going to get up and do these crazy classes. I'm going to like start my morning off slower. I'm going to do yoga instead of the spin. I'm going to do, because I think what that speaks to is that there are many different paths to our destination. And for a while, your path was go, 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 get it done, strive, like, and it wasn't strive in the like misaligned striving. It was like, I
It was
see what I
super
want.
aligned.
It was
Yeah.
so aligned. But then you recognize that there was a shift in that path, like the journey is like your map quest, like your GPS kind of like recalculated. And
Yeah.
it was like, all right, we're not going to take 75 anymore. We're going to take some back roads.
Yes.
You're still going to get to where you're going. And frankly, you might get there even quicker because there could be an accident on 85 or 75 or whichever road I said and the scenery on the back roads is so much more beautiful and it might inspire other parts. And so I just like, I want to focus for a minute on like that part of things for you from where I was sitting and kind of watching it play out, because it was interesting to see, like, I mean, I've known you for 14 years. This is probably one of the first times, maybe not the first time, but in such a stark comparison of what it was like before and like we'll just say what your morning routine was like before versus what it is now.
Yeah.
Like for me to see that was like, wow, like, okay, that's one that was super powerful for me to see. It gave me a lot of like thoughts. What am I trying to say? It sparked a lot of internal, checking in with myself, kind of like what we did with the podcast. Like, is what I'm doing working for me? Is this not working for me? Do I want to keep doing it this way? Is it in alignment? But it also showed such courage because it was so different from what you usually do, but it was still honoring you.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh,
Like,
thank you.
yeah, like, and that may be like for listeners, like that may be your reality of like when you shift, people around you may not be as open-minded as I was with Leanne shift. Like I could have been real judgmental and been like, what the fuck is she doing? And like, oh, she's just making excuses or she's just da da da. I could have gone in lots of different directions. Other people may also go in different directions. Your alignment does not need to make sense to anybody else.
Right.
Your alignment today doesn't need to match what your alignment was yesterday. Alignment is about shifting and pivoting when new things are introduced and as you become more aware. And as you become more aware, you have to pivot. You have to. And so don't give up that internal alignment shift just because others may not get it.
Yes. And for you too. Absolutely. Right. So I want to, there's so much of, the fear of how other people, like, again, it's just like how you were going to take it. And I didn't want to hurt your feelings and I didn't want, right. So there's that aspect. And I'm so grateful for having, again, that support in the space. And even if I didn't have that, that was a really, really important, like I've had those moments where it's like, I've spoken to my mom or my husband or my brother or my sister or my whoever that just didn't get it. Right. And that was still okay. What was more important was for me to speak this out loud and for me to acknowledge that I was going through this, regardless of how anybody else is going to respond. And I think that, like, so I can speak for myself. I had enough to just deal with my own inner conflict of that, of like, am I really just making excuses? Oh my gosh. Like, am I being lazy? Am I going to fuck everything up? Am I sabotaging? Am I going into self-sabotage? Am I like, it was like all, like, those were all of the thoughts of like, what if, and there were like those moments of like, well, what if this is like, if I stop before the miracle happens? What if this is like, it's all of that, right?
Don't drown 5 feet from shore. Don't drown 5 feet from shore. I totally agree. Like, we don't have that crystal ball, so to speak, of like, what if we're on the brink of like making it big and then we like stop?
Right.
Like, that's such a fear based in scarcity.
And that's where it's like, I wasn't going to make the decision from that place. It was just like a thought, it's like all of these were thoughts. And I like the point of bringing that up is that we have enough to deal with in just our own internal workings than to project all of that onto other people, right? Like I had the whole thing too when I stopped my morning workouts at it's still my favorite. Like I still love going to cycle when my body feels it, right? Like when my authentic self aligns and it's like, no, you're meant to go to this. Like just go sign up, whatever. Commit to this. But anyways, it's like, I had the fear of like, what are they going to think? They're used to seeing me at 5 a.m., every single day, like Monday through Friday. And like I love them and I don't want to disappoint them. And like, I'm like, who the fuck do I first of all think I am? Thinking that they're gonna be like, oh, Leanne.
Everyone in class stopped the day that you stopped and they were like, what do we do? She's not here. I do the same. Like my ego gets so inflated, like, and not like in a gross way, but just like in a,
it's just like crazy, silly. Like I have to laugh at it because it's like, really, dude, really?
But it's so normal. How often do we do that? Where it's like we're so concerned with ourselves, but then we forget that everyone else is also so concerned with themselves that they're not concerned with. Like it's a phenomenon of we're not that important. Sorry.
I know. It was nice to go back and be like, and they're like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in a while, right? And I'm like, I know, but they weren't like shame, Leanne, like
right.
Right. But yeah, so. Yes, like it has been a lot of, a lot of just reflection, a lot of discussion, a lot of honoring the space and the time that we both received in that space. And it was like over like summer. So, it aligned because I know you did a lot of traveling. There was a shit ton of stuff going on for me. And, so needless to say, we are choosing to be to continue.
Yay, the baby lives. The baby lives. It might look a little different. I don't think it's going to look drastically different. We're hoping for shorter episodes. We're hoping for shorter episodes and maybe a little bit more guidance or like focus in some of like I love the like, hey, let's just like girl talk and shoot the shit. And I also know that like we can be more focused.
Yes. Absolutely. So that is what is coming at you. And we are super excited to continue on in a way that flows, in a way that is both, I would say it's like this integration of masculine and feminine, of like staying focused and also feeling into things and feeling into where we want to be and where we want to go. And again, that masculine of like, what is my mission? What is our vision? What is our goal for this? And continuously coming back to that as we do flow and we do, explore these different parts. So we're super excited that you hung tight with us.
Yay. Keep coming back.
And there's going to be more to come. As always, we love to hear your feedback. We love to hear any kind of topics that you might want to hear about from two therapists, gal pals, entrepreneurs, all the different lessons that we have learned along the way that we want to encourage and inspire and cheer you on with as well. So we will be seeing you next time, hopefully, and always sending so much love and light. And we are just so grateful that we get to spend this time with all of you and that we get to spend this time with each other as we are women who have a mission, want to change the world, and are setting our sights to do so. One episode at a time, my friends.
One episode at a time.
So until next time, sending so much light and love. Mwah.